Good morning.
Good morning, Kaylee. Happy Tuesday.
Thank you. Happy Tuesday to the Turkeyverse. We're happy to be here. In keeping with our theme today, I have my mug from our wedding.
Well, that's cute.
Because we are talking about, drum roll please, relationship health as part of our semi-selfish summer series.
Part 4, right? Is this the finale? If you go...
But we're going to dive in. And, I'm excited.
I am very excited.
All right, y'all. If you haven't been with us yet so far, we are, like we said, in our semi-selfish summer series, and we're going to kick it off today with our relationship health. Kayla, do you have a definition?
You know it. If you haven't listened to any of their previous weeks, they are there for you to watch. We talked about physical health, we talked about emotional and mental health, and we talked about spiritual and soul health. And I have brought a definition to each and every one of these episodes. So this one was a little difficult because there's not like I just looked up what a healthy relationship is. Because like what else? Anyway, so there was several different things, but the one I like the most comes from the University of Alabama. I don't know. I guess they did a study.
Oh, no! It's okay. Something good's allowed to come out of there once in a while, I guess.
They say a healthy relationship is a partnership between two people that is based on respect and trust, which are the first two things that are most important. Both partners in the relationship should feel safe and be willing to work on any imbalances if and when those issues show up. I thought that was such a good definition.
I really liked that, and it's perfect because it applies to both of the realms that we are going to talk about, which was friendship in general, health, and then the old partner, spouse, significant other. I don't know what other word there is.
The sexual soulmate, if you will, not the non-sexual soulmates. Sorry.
It's true for both soulmates, the sexual and non-sexual.
Exactly. Both are important.
It's true. It's true.
Hey, turkeys, real quick, we want to tell you about our fun new free craft corner. Every quarter, in line with the equinox or solstice, we are going to send out new farts and crafts projects. You can find the link in the show notes. Just drop us your email. We promise not to spam you, but we'd love for you to join us. Now back to the show.
I wanted my second cup of coffee while we were recording, but that meant I had to drink my first cup a little bit quickly, and I'm feeling wee.
You could have just poured it in.
No, because I had an iced one first.
Oh, okay.
I know, because otherwise, you were correct. That would have been the normal thing to do. Well, as per usual, I have my self-definition, but here we go again. I had a trouble.
The caveats.
Well, yeah, because it was hard. So I was trying to come up with, in the realm of my well-being, what do healthy relationships look like? I guess sort of as they relate to me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Like in your world?
Versus, yeah, well, like, okay, I'm just going to go through what I talked about. Okay. So first I started it off with a visual aid because I need metaphors. So if you will all imagine with me, if you will. I wasn't going to tell you to close your eyes because I hated when they told us to close our eyes in church.
I felt very vulnerable. In school, too. Close your
me
eyes.
Too. Like, don't tell me what to do. I always peeked. So I was just imagine with me, eyes open, closed, however you'd like to be, one open, one closed, a dartboard. So I imagined the innermost, the bullseye, to actually be myself / my relationship with however you want to define it, your higher power, God, your inner knowing, whatever. So I imagined that as the middle dot. And then concentric circles coming out from there, because obviously not everybody is going to be as close. And I actually think that's a mark of a healthy person, that you have different levels of relationships. You're not trying to make everybody your deepest, darkest secret friend. So I kind of imagined it that way. And then, just outside of my self ring would be your partner sphere, / just outside of that would be your very close friend spheres. And then widening out until we get to just, acquaintances or what have you. So I'm imagining that. And also, if you have a ripple, it's going to ripple out to everybody, right? So I kind of started off by just thinking to myself about how my relationship to myself and my well-being is kind of the foundation of all my other relationships being healthy. Because if my relationship to myself is weird, then my relationship with my partner is going to be weird, and my friends are going to be weird, and things are just going to stay weird. So that was kind of the lens that I started from. And then I went from there to just kind of say that for me, having relationship health as like a piece of my overall well-being is when I'm able to appropriately disclose information or rely upon somebody else while still maintaining my sense of self and autonomy. So basically my boundary of where I end and the next person begins. Because for somebody that's overly empathic at times, those lines can get blurred where I start to take on other people's emotional states as my responsibility. And that's not good. So that was kind of the way that I looked at it, is I'm being healthy in the state of my relationships when everybody is kind of at the appropriate distance for how much I can trust them. And I'm still able to be vulnerable at the appropriate level of their trustworthiness. And I'm still able to maintain myself and have clear boundaries between who I am and who somebody else is, and not giving up or not sacrificing myself for the sake of somebody else to the extent that I'm wearing myself out.
I love that. I loved
very long.
No, it was perfect because it got me thinking your dartboard analogy or metaphor. If you were just to put that flat on a surface, what I was thinking is like you're in the middle. Say you just put a cup right in the middle of the dartboard, and like we've talked about our semi-selfish summer series, we have to somewhat be selfish and take care of ourselves. So if you're filling your cup up for you first, once it does start overflowing, it will literally hit your, obviously you and your higher being are the ones filling yourself up. But then as soon as it starts overflowing, it hits your partner sphere first, and then it goes out to your closest friends and your family. You know what I'm saying? Like, it kind of makes sense where, oh, I thought that was just hair.
No, my AirPod fell out.
But yeah, it makes sense. Like, once you're able to give as much as where people are in your sphere. And I think people move within that throughout life. I had in here, like, it's especially not your partner relationship, but maybe friend relationships. They ebb and flow. I mean, if you're not married, hopefully your partnership does not ebb and flow terribly. But yeah, I lost my train of thought. Oh, you mentioned boundaries, which I agree with, and like the separation of self within your relationship, specifically for like our husbands and our romantic relationships and our marriage. It's interesting to find a balance of not being like having some codependency, because you do live together and you love each other and you are dependent on each other in some ways, but not being overly codependent. Is there a word that's like there's codependency and then there's an opposite word? Is there something in the middle? Because I feel like that would be a healthy place to be. You know, you rely on each other and you're dependent,
Can we
but
just
you're
call
not
it
like
an interdependent?
I think that's what it is. Yes.
I think that is.
I think it is.
That's it. That implies a give and take.
Yes. Which I think is healthy, because if you're too separated, then it's not good. If you're too dependent and everything affects you and that's unhealthy, you just have to be like going down the same road side by side, having a good time.
And I think having a good time. I think what you said highlights another point I was going to make.
I knew you were going to do that.
Weird baby hairs that aren't parting right. Sorry for the listeners because you don't know what I'm talking about. I think it's important for people to think about too, when you start dating somebody, they're going to start on the outside of your rings and move their way in. So it took time before Jason surpassed my closest friends, as you know, to the point of us being in a serious relationship and me feeling like I can rely on him and my willingness to be vulnerable and all of that. I also think that's healthy, because it doesn't need to be 1 date, 2 date. Here's all my stories. I mean,
too much. Red flag.
Oh man, but yeah, definitely I liked your point of people kind of ebbing and flowing, and sometimes they just fall off the radar altogether, and I also think that's fine. I mean, it doesn't always, you don't have to hoard people forever and ever and ever, amen, that are friendships.
Yeah, I think that's healthy and normal.
My next question, I don't know which direction you were going to go in, but my next question was going to be, how do we, breaking these down into the partner relationship and the friendship relationship, how do we keep our friendships healthy?
It's funny because I, not specifically to that, but I wrote down in general my like keys, my biggest important factors in both relationships, and one was communication, obviously, but I did caveat myself and say knowing what that looks like for each type of relationship. So obviously you know me well enough now that we've known each other for so long that I sometimes am the worst at communicating back with you. And I'm so very grateful that you don't get offended if I take 3 to 5 business days to respond to a very simple text. However, if I did that to my husband, it would be a very different story. Because we have to have constant communication, and we both know each other. And if one doesn't respond within a timely manner, it's like, what the hell? Is something wrong? Are you like, did you get in an accident, or are you mad? Like, what's happening? I'm confused. So knowing like how that communication looks for your relationships, if you are my close friend or a friend in my life, at this point you know that I am somewhat bad at communicating, which is a personal thing I need to work on. But what I do think is important is showing up for each other. As I say that, even though I don't respond sometimes, I feel like if the time is had and like you call me and you're like, Kayla, emergency, like, can you come here? I will be there, you know? Being able to at least rely on someone and giving them grace. Those are my 2 things for friendship. Again, with my communication situation, it's like being able to rely on them, but understanding that because you're not my husband, you know, or my child, I have to set some priorities, and it's not like you're not a priority to me. It's just these other things have to come first in my life, and giving each other grace, you know, in that, and not getting offended, especially as women. I feel like that's a big thing. Like, if you got a girlfriend, just don't get offended. Just communicate when you can, have some grace, and just be willing to adapt as their lives, their little intimate, little day-to-day lives fluctuate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think you're right. Yeah. Speaking of communication, I have a communicating dog back here because yesterday he decided he would not be contained, and I tried to kennel him, and he just screamed the whole time. So he's vibing with me today.
I like
he
it.
needs to be quiet. I liked what you said. Also, you are good at communicating. You're just not great at texting, which is not the only form of communication.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll take that.
Yeah. Because you're good at having conversations when they need to happen and in person. You just get way too many text messages from work, and that's okay. But also the fact that you forget to respond and then you still respond fully 5 days later as if I had just sent the message shows me that you care about what I said. At that point, I would be like, who cares? It's been too long. But I appreciate that I'll see like the preview of the message and be like, what is she talking about? And then scroll and okay. But you are good at communicating. You just have a hard time with text messages. And I don't think that is the only way to communicate. So you're good.
Valid. Thank you.
Aye, Captain. What I did not mention, or I had not written down what you said, which I do think is key, is giving each other grace and the benefit of the doubt. Again, that goes back to that trust piece. So if you're not as close with someone, you don't have as much trust, they get less benefit of the doubt. But for your very close friends that you've known a long time, you should be able to feel like you can be yourself. And I think that was, again, I was going through this whole thing of how do I craft my definition of a healthy relationship? But I definitely think that a hallmark of a friendship and a good relationship is that I feel like I can be myself. The people that are in my closest bubble are the people that I feel like I can be myself around and make mistakes and not have judgment. Or have judgment where it's appropriate. Like, Kaylee, that's a dumb fucking idea. Maybe you shouldn't do that. But from a place of love.
Yes.
Not from a place of you're stupid. It's the differentiation between somebody seeing you do something dumb and saying what you're doing is dumb versus someone saying you are dumb.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Totally tracks. Because
definitely my closest friends are the ones who I hope will tell me that when I'm acting like an nincompoop.
I mean, if your closest friends don't, then who's going to? And then you're just walking around the world being an nincompoop, like you said.
Yeah, you're just being insane. The whole how do we maintain friendships as adults is so hard. And I also would like to point out that I don't have I really don't have local people because everybody lives everywhere, which is fine. But it's weird when you think about it. Everybody, and it's so much easier to do now. You know, people are mobile and they move a lot more. We don't have jobs like past generations where you just plug in and sit for 25 years. So I was kind of reflecting on what are ways that I try to stay invested in my relationships and be intentional, because you do have to have intention. It doesn't have to consume your life. And like you said, most of your energy is going to go into your family, which is also appropriate. But it sounds dumb. Honestly, Wordle is like one of my favorite ways to stay connected to people. My mom and my aunt and I have a group chat and we do our stupid games every morning. And then my friend Erin, who lives in Charleston, we also share our stupid game results. And it's just kind of fun. You're just, it also sometimes will initiate some kind of information, chat. But it's just sort of the day-to-day goofy shit, which is what you would have if you worked with somebody or you were around somebody more. Because not every interaction has to be this deep soul-bearing thing. I don't know. I love that. I love exchanging stupid memes. It's just sort of I thought of you. This made me think of you, and now we're sharing a laugh across distance. Obviously, relationships have to have more than that, but sometimes that's just fun. It just keeps it fun. Exactly.
And it's like the little things that keep it strung along, but in between the, phone calls or FaceTimes or visits, it's the little stuff. Because if we can't have a full-on conversation every day, at least I can send you a funny meme or something.
Right. And if we lived in the same city, we wouldn't have a full-on conversation every day anyway.
That's true.
even if we were neighbors, there would be days where I would just like flip you off as I got the mail, which is the same. You know what I mean? Like, we wouldn't every day be sitting down like, let's have a chat.
No.
So part of me has had to realize some of that's just being an adult, and that's just life. We're not in school and riding the bus and going back and forth, and I'm glad we had all those, which, whatever, so many side tangents. But I do think long distance means you have to be more intentional about checking in. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, at this age, in our 30s, whether you're long distance or not long distance, I do also think it takes some type of maturity to understand that we all do have separate lives and are very busy and have priorities that come up. I know that before we started this podcast and we didn't talk as much, you were never offended and it was not weird, and I never questioned our friendship if we didn't talk for 3 months. We would even go longer than that when we were in college. I just feel like I have to say it takes some maturity too to understand that I don't have to rely on you to communicate with me or reach out to me like I would my husband. It's different. It's a different level. And I feel like some people don't know that and they get offended and they think there's some beef if I'm not reaching out to you within a certain time period. It's like, we're not in middle school. Like, you're not my husband. Like, I don't know.
There's definitely a shift. I felt the shift, especially, I mean, once Jason and I were, well, I don't know, we started dating, and then I just never stopped seeing him all the time. But things definitely do change, and especially now that we're married, because I just live up his butt. But like you said, people have to understand it. I don't know. I'm gonna make him a priority, but prioritizing myself and keeping myself healthy also means that I cultivate and maintain my relationships with my friends, because everybody definitely does need to have their separate people. I also made a note, like you said, I'm a phone call girl, so I love to schedule a phone call with people, which again, sometimes it sounds lame as hell, but sometimes you just do. You have to put it on your calendar and then make a point to chat. And then I also just felt the need to shout out Marco Polo, the stupid video messaging app, because it's so fun, and you can send a quick video message and it's more personal than a text, and people at your job aren't Marco Poloing you, so you're not bombarded by Marco Polo alerts. And it's just kind of an easy way to see into somebody's life, and like, you know, you can show me your kid eating food or whatever, but it's like a peep into your day to day. And it's more personal, but because it's not FaceTime, we can, you know, whenever it works, we can watch and interact. So I appreciate technology for some of those things for sure. But I think the biggest things to keep in mind, especially if you're somebody that's in your 20s and you have friends that are transitioning into being married, is, like Kayla said, it's stuff shifts and your priorities shift and things change. So talk about it if it's weird. I mean, if you're the person that's married, you also have the responsibility to pry yourself away and do stuff with your female friends, but things change as life changes. And I always joke that if I outlive Jason, I'm going to move to wherever you are and insert myself into your family, whatever it looks like. So
please,
you know,
but
things could come full circle. I know you didn't mean please let him pass away.
Yeah, you could just both move closer. Oh my God. Put my foot in my mouth. I love you, Jason. No, I agree with everything you said. It takes personal responsibility and also grace. And I think that's where it's like we all work on the give and take of a relationship, whether that's your husband or your wife or your partner or your friends. And knowing that how that looks may change depending on the season. Like for us, our relationship looked a little different when we were dating versus when we moved into a house together and lived together. And then once we got married, and then now that we have a kid, it looks different. And I know we've talked about it offline, but the other biggest piece that I think is important to understand a relationship is it's not 50-50 all the time. It's sometimes I'm 70 and he's 30, and sometimes I'm not having a good week and I'm at a 15 and he's got to pull the rest to the 85. It's sorry. No, but it's I always strive to be at 100%, but that's not realistic. And I know that sometimes I'm going to take over the load on a given day, or if he's going through something, and then vice versa. And I think that applies with friendships too. It's just more prevalent, when you're living with someone and, you have to be there literally 24/7. But yeah.
I did. That was my biggest. I'll move into my how do we keep our marriage healthy vibes, but that was my biggest thing, and it applies to friendships and your romantic relationship, if you will. I think it was Stacy, our Young Life leader. Basically, for those of you that don't know, it's like a youth group leader, mentor. Anyway, I think it was her that told me that you should always look at your relationship as 60-40 instead of 50-50. Because if both of you have that mentality of, well, it's fine, I'm just going to do a little bit more, not wildly more all of the time, but if both of you sort of have that mentality, then everything should get done and no one should feel butt hurt. Because 50-50 sounds good, but when you think about it, you can really get in the weeds about the ticky-tacky little details, like, well, I did more this day, so you need to do more of that. And that you don't want to be going, like, keeping score in any relationship. And I think to your point, it does make sense too that some days people are just going to be off, or some time periods people are going to be in a tunnel or in a bubble. Like when you first had your baby, I was expecting nothing because I knew you were just going to be absorbed, which is fine. It's not, you weren't going to be absorbed and then disappear into the mist for the rest of our lives. But I was like, yeah, for these first couple months, I'm just going to send you closed-ended text messages. And if you respond to me at all, I'll be surprised, pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
And that's fine too. Somebody has a life event or someone passes away. They may not have a whole lot in their cup to be passing out to anybody else. And that's when your good friends will see that and again put their needs aside and be there for you. And same with a marriage. And I'm trying to think. We have a cute little response from our friend One Dull Geek. I don't even know how this came up in a comment thread, but anyway, I think it had to do with weird habits that people do, and you and I were just talking about different ways that people behave, and he talked about his wife having some things that were different. But anyway, in some of the comments he's left before to build out a little bit of info, he and his wife have been married for a long time and they have grown their children. So they are definitely further along in the game than Kayla and I are. But let me just read this because it was so cute. Okay. I think you and I may have been talking about not understanding mechanical things, but he put, personally, it's a mystery to me how after I can explain to my wife how a machine works calmly and patiently and get her to explain it back to me, what I said, and yet when there's a very simple problem with said machine, she still calls me to explain it.
Yes.
Similarly, when she asks me to fix Amazon, I don't have the source code. I can't fix Amazon. And then you put, actually, never mind. I bet you're on her side. But this was what was really sweet. Oh, he was also talking about finding things. So he said, I'm pretty sure when my wife walks into a room, she subconsciously scans everything and then she sees and catalogs it. And when a room is cluttered, it makes the scan/catalog process harder, which is why she hates clutter as much as she does.
That's good.
Sidebar, I just love, they've been together a long time. I love his level of understanding. It gets cuter. He said, I don't operate that way. When I put something somewhere, I remember that one thing and where I put it. My brain remembers things I need with a place and is capable of totally ignoring things I don't need, which means clutter doesn't really bother me that much. Which I think I might be that person. I don't know. I think I do a little bit of both. He said, so when I'm looking for something, I need to go to its place. And if it's gone, I'm probably never going to find it. And he said, most of the time, this is because my wife decided that there's a better place for this and decided not to inform me of the change. Where this happens the most is the refrigerator. Where is the steak sauce that I put on this shelf the last time I used it? And then I ask my wife, and without even looking around 17 different things, she just pulls it out. Oh, I'm convinced that the only way that it's possible is if she cataloged the location of every single thing in the refrigerator from the last time she was in there. And let me just see. He kind of goes on to just explain like the different methods and his explanation of it. But this was the part that was really, really sweet. He said, seriously, I really hope everyone who's married sticks it out for the long term. I'm reminded of the scene in Good Will Hunting where the Robin Williams character is discussing his late wife. And he tells the story of how she farted in her sleep, sometimes so loud that she woke herself up. And it's funny. But the point he was making was the crazy, unique things about her spouse is really the good stuff. The fact that I get to know this woman as well as I do, and that she gets to know me and my oddities. I honestly can't believe how great this is. I know there's some valid reasons why people divorce, but there are also incredibly stupid reasons why. And from my perspective, getting divorced because you, quote, don't feel happy or because she keeps leaving the cabinet doors open or any number of unbelievably tiny issues. That's like saying, here's your choice. You can have a Snickers bar right now, or in 25 years, I'll give you $1 million, and then picking the Snickers bar.
I love that.
And to wrap it up, he said, I've learned over 30 plus years of knowing her, how her brain organizes the space around her. I can't believe I'm allowed to know that about someone else. And she knows everything about me, and we both like it. In any other context, thing I know about my wife would be creepy at best and maybe even criminal. But after this long, it's not only comfortable, it's truly amazing. I truly hope that everyone who's married gets to experience this.
Aw, I love
It's so
that.
sweet.
It's so sentimental, but
I know.
like logical at the same time.
I know. It tracks with everything that he's commented with a very logical brain. But I just thought that was really neat to hear from somebody who's been married a lot longer than we have, and I love that point. It's all the dumb, weird little things that you learn about somebody, and that builds over time.
Yep.
And I hope I get to pester Jason for 30 plus years.
Oh, I'm sure you will. I know. It's definitely I was gonna say a treat. That doesn't encompass how I feel. You keep saying treats. It's definitely an honor and something I'm so grateful for, to have healthy relationships, as in a healthy relationship with my husband and with my close friends and with my family. There could be so much drama in not having healthy relationships that can completely derail your life. And it feels so good to be in a good place and all of that. And I just think it goes back to being considerate is the other biggest thing I'll say real quick. You know, to his point, he knows his wife will, oh God, I take this from my mom. Kenny's like, where did the coffee mug just go? I was gonna get another second cup of coffee. And I'm like, well, it was sitting there, so I already put it in the dishwasher. You know, it's just like, I totally get that from my mom. So it's just like understanding what each other needs, and he knows what I need. I know that we need a bowl right in the entryway so he can put his keys in his wallet there so he doesn't lose them. It's, you just start to know these things, and
Right. Our
instead
ADD
of
boys.
instead of being annoyed or I think when you start to understand them as people, and that's how people are, you just have more grace and you're considerate, and yeah, it becomes fun to know their inner workings and take it as like, this is so special because I get to know exactly how weird we all are in our own weird ways.
I go back to my morbid thoughts all the time. I can't help it. Sorry, everyone. But I do think about the fact that life is finite and we're not guaranteed anything. And like I said, I'd love, hopefully, to spend 30 plus years with Jason, but weird things can happen. And I think I'm lucky that we had to but we spent 6 months apart shortly after we first got married when he was doing a travel assignment. And just that little glimpse into the stuff that he does that I find mildly irritating on a day-to-day basis, I would have loved to have had back when he was gone in his absence, which made me just realize, like, if something ever were to happen to him, that's the stuff that I would miss. It's just the dumb day-to-day things. And it helps me put that into perspective sometimes. I mean, we all women, I think, joke that our husbands breathe weird sometimes and it makes us want to die. It's probably
just everybody, but yes.
Yeah. But it's just those moments where I might be getting a little bit irritated because I'm irritable that day. But then I think, I'm glad he's around so I can hear his stupid breathing. And someday I will miss the peanut butter spoon that he licks and then throws in the sink from 5 miles away and makes a huge clattering noise. Like, it's not, in the scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal. And people are allowed to annoy you and they're allowed to get on your nerves. And that's going to happen when you're in close proximity to somebody. But I really liked his perspective on, I get to know this person this well and I get to know their ins and outs. And for my husband that also can't find anything ever, I get to be the person that helps him locate stuff so he doesn't have to be frustrated running around the house. And I can look at it that way instead of looking at it from the perspective of, why can't you find anything?
Exactly.
Like, this is an opportunity for me to be helpful versus you're getting on my nerves. And trying to have that mental shift, I think, is a big deal too.
I love it.
But also just having fun. Just have fun. If you haven't found the person yet, just find somebody that you can have fun with. There's nothing I love better than goofing around and acting like nincompoops and just laughing. Thus, our stupid Chick-fil-A cart video that is everywhere now for some reason. I think the reason that everyone clicked on it is because it's just, yes, people want to argue on the internet, but I think really what people found funny was that it was truly me and him just goofing around and laughing genuinely in the car. When I didn't record that with the intention of, let's make a viral video. I just captured a moment of us goofing off. And I think that is very typical of our marriage. We just goof off.
It's so fun.
And
also,
I love that.
Slight plug and teaser. We are going to do a comment ratings and review session in our Poddle episode this Saturday. I just made the executive decision that one's dropping this Saturday because I feel like it's perfect to follow this episode. So there will be funny and irrational comments being rated. Specifically, there's a lot on that one since that one did go viral. So check us out on YouTube Saturday mornings for our Poddle episode.
Really excited.
So
Do
funny.
you have anything to add before we wrap up with a surprise?
No. Oh yeah, I forgot there's some surprise. I know. I forgot. No, I'll just say, take responsibility, be grateful, be silly, communicate, and just love each other and realize life is short.
Yeah. Give each other the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
When you've earned it. Your acquaintances maybe don't need the benefit of the doubt all the time. Okay. I could yap about this for hours and hours. Ready? Okay. We're going to do a drum roll.
Oh.
That's not even the surprise.
I love it.
Are you ready?
Yes.
I'm about to be so embarrassed, but here we go. Let's hope this works.
It's not too fast, we won't go slow. Just a guide and let it go. It's just the tip. We won't be mean, we won't be long. A little info goes real far with just the tip.
Do you like my Just the Tip intro song?
Die. At first I was like, is this her voice? And then you said just the tip, and I absolutely love it. Yes, Kaylee, yes.
Oh man. Well,
you were
this week,
guitaring
guys,
too, right?
That's
That
my
was
ukulele.
you. Oh, I didn't know you had a ukulele.
I know. I kind of forgot too because it was sitting in my closet for forever. I was real bored while Jason was gone. All right, well, guys. This week on Just the Tip, speaking of relationships, I read this book a long time ago. It's called Mating in Captivity by Esther Perel. She is a long-time something. I can't remember. Therapist. She's a long-time couples therapist. And she is great. I don't know. Just read the book. It's a great book. It talks about being in a relationship, keeping it interesting. You basically, you just read it. I don't know. I don't want to explain it. I'm going to suck. She also has a podcast called Where Should We Begin with Esther Perel. Anyway, reading this book was life-changing for me, and it was before Jason and I even started dating. So, I don't know.
Nice. I'll
Go
have to
check it out.
We'll put a link in the description. That's awesome. I want to read it.
I wish I would have done a better job of explaining it. She just has a unique perspective too, and she's foreign, which I like because she's got a more of a global perspective on relationships instead of it maybe being tied to just one culture, just American society, things like that. But anyway, that's my tip of the week, my just the tip, if you will.
I freaking love it. I need a replay of after this recording. I need to listen to your music again. I love that so much.
I couldn't figure out if it was too long or not. All right, people, we'll check out the rest of our series. We'll be coming at you next month with some more new fun things, and I love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.